Welcome to Chapter 9, Crediting Meat and Meat Alternates. This training is presented by the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs. In this training, we will go over the meat and meat alternate component requirements. The component is also shortened to MMA. Then we will go over portion sizes for MMA. After that, we will look at creditable MMAs and non-creditable MMAs, and then finally go over some common errors with this component. After taking this training, we hope that you will understand the minimum portion sizes for the meat-meat alternate components by age group and the meal type served, and that you will learn how to credit different meat-meat alternate food items. The meat-meat alternate component is a required component for both lunch and supper. While it is not required for breakfast, it can be substituted for the grain component at breakfast up to 3 times a week. It is also one of the 5 components that can be served at snack. The meat-meat alternate component credits only for the lean meat or protein present in a meat or meat alternate food item. This is important to understand because the portion sizes in the meat-meat alternate component are measured in ounce equivalents. If you have taken the grains component training, you will be familiar with ounce equivalents already, and the concept is the same for this component. For meat and meat alternates, the ounce equivalent will only credit the amount of cooked lean meat or protein in a product. This means that it does not count the bones, fat, water, or any other ingredients in the MMA item. The weight in ounces for a meat item will often not match the ounce equivalents unless you are starting out with a cooked lean meat. The minimum portion sizes for lunch and supper are 1 ounce equivalent for children ages 1 to 2 years old, 1.5 ounce equivalents for children ages 3 to 5 years, and 2 ounce equivalents for children ages 6 to 18 years old. For snack, the minimum portion sizes are smaller at 1/2 ounce equivalents for children ages 1 to 5 years old, and 1 ounce equivalent for children 6 to 18 years old. Determining the ounce equivalent of an item will often require the use of the food buying guide in order to determine the crediting amounts in a specific meat or meat alternate item. We will discuss the food buying guide in more detail later on in this training. There are 2 things to remember when it comes to substituting meat-meat alternates for grains at breakfast. First, you know already that you can only substitute MMAs for grains up to 3 times a week. And second, it is also important to know that the minimum serving sizes will substitute 1 ounce equivalent of meat-meat alternates for 1 ounce equivalent of grains. For the grains component, only 1/2 ounce equivalents are required for ages 1 to 5, and 1 ounce equivalents are required for ages 6 to 18 at breakfast. To substitute a MMA, you would provide 1/2 ounce equivalent of a meat or meat alternate for children ages 1 to 5, or 1 ounce equivalent of a meat-meat alternate for children ages 6 through 18. Let's talk about what meat and meat alternate items are creditable and how to determine their ounce equivalent portion sizes. We will go over lean meat and poultry, yogurt, nuts and seeds, cheese, beans or legumes, and combination meat-meat alternate foods. These are not the only creditable meat and meat alternates, but are simply the most common ones. For more information on crediting specific meat and meat alternates, refer to ODE's CECFP Policy and Procedure Manual and the Food Buying Guide. When serving lean meats and poultry, it is important to remember that only the cooked lean meat can be counted towards the creditable meat component. As mentioned previously, 1 ounce weight of meat will not equal 1 ounce equivalent of meat and meat alternate because the product will include other ingredients such as fat, bones, and skin. Take a whole roast chicken, for example. When you buy the fresh whole chicken, it will come with bones, fat, skin, and sometimes even a small pack of organs in the neck as well. In addition, some of the water content of the raw meat will cook off. If you were to debone the finished roast chicken and remove the skin and fat drippings, you will have a lot less chicken by weight. Generally, it will be around 0.44 pounds of cooked boned chicken meat for every pound of fresh or frozen whole chicken meat that you will have purchased. This means you will get about 44% of the total weight you purchased in creditable ounce equivalents. How do we know that? Because USDA has completed crediting analysis for many common food items and compiled that information into the Food Buying Guide. The Food Buying Guide is a great resource for determining the creditable portions for food items from all meal components, not only meat and meat alternates. This is a resource used across all child nutrition programs and not only the CACFP. Most sponsors find it most helpful for meat products since there are so many different cuts of meat out there, and the edible portion of lean cooked meat will vary from all of them. The Food Buying Guide includes many tools, but one of the most important ones is the Food Item Search function, which provides yield data for many food items. When completing a search, it is important to look at the descriptions and find a product that is most similar to your purchased item. Let's take a look at the information that is provided when we searched for whole fresh chicken. The search results come back with many different chicken products, and in this example, we chose chicken, whole fresh or frozen without neck and giblets. When you look at these food item details, you can see under the additional information box under the bottom that 1 pound AP, which stands for as purchased, will equal 0.44 pounds of cooked boned chicken meat with skin. This is where you can find the percentage of creditable lean cooked meat from your product. Looking at this, you know that you will get about 44% of your purchased weight as creditable meat for serving. If you wanted to figure out how many portions of minimum servings you can get from 1 pound of this item, you can look at the purchase unit, servings per purchase unit, EP. This stands for edible portion, and the serving size per meal contribution. Looking at this, you can see that 1 pound of whole chicken will equal 7 servings of 1 ounce equivalent cooked poultry. If you wanted to figure out how much chicken you will need to buy to get 100 1 ounce equivalent servings, then you would look at the purchase units for 100 servings, and in this case, you would need 14.3 pounds of whole chicken. The Food Buying Guide provides a wealth of information for your crediting needs, especially when it comes to meats and poultry. When crediting meat alternates, you will find that they are typically a lot more straightforward compared to the meats. There are a few rules to keep in mind with yogurts. They must be commercially made for health and safety reasons. Soy yogurt is the only alternative yogurt that is allowed, and all yogurt served must meet sugar limit requirements of no more than 12 grams of added sugars per 6 ounces of yogurt. To figure out if your yogurt is within that sugar limit, you can use the CACFP Yogurt Added Sugar Limit card. To use the card, compare the serving size and added sugar on your nutrition facts label to the corresponding tables on the card. If your total added sugar is at or below the number, then it is within the limit. Finally, to serve the required minimum portion size, you need to know that 4 ounces of yogurt by weight is equal to 1 ounce equivalent of meat alternate. Nuts and seeds are also fairly straightforward. While there used to be a rule that you can only serve nuts and seed for up to half the MMA component, as of July 1st, 2024, nuts and seeds can credit for the full meat alternate component. To credit nuts and seeds, 1 ounce weight of nuts and seed will equal 1 ounce equivalent of meat alternate. For nut and seed butters, you will need 2 tablespoons to equal 1 ounce equivalent of meat alternate. When serving nut and seed butters, you will find that most sandwiches will only hold up to 2 tablespoons of the butter. So when serving children 3 years old and older at mealtime, it may be necessary to include additional meat or meat alternates to meet the full serving sizes. A stick of string cheese is a popular item to serve with nut or seed butter sandwiches. Cheese, as a category of food, can be broad, and it is important to understand that only certain types of cheese will be creditable as a meat alternate. Like nuts and seeds, when serving natural or processed cheese, 1 ounce weight of cheese will equal 1 ounce equivalent of meat alternates. Cottage cheese, ricotta cheese, cheese foods, and cheese spreads will only credit for half the weight. So 2 ounces of cottage or ricotta cheese will equal 1 ounce equivalent of meat alternates. Beans and legumes are special in that they can credit for either the meat alternate or vegetable component. However, you cannot use one bean product to credit both components in the same meal. A quarter cup of cooked, heated, and drained beans will equal 1 ounce equivalent of meat alternate. Combination foods are food items with a mix of different ingredients. They can include 2 or more meal components, such as a spinach and cheese lasagna that can credit for the vegetable, meat and meat alternate, and grain components. Or they can be a food item that mixes both creditable and non-creditable ingredients, such as pepperoni. It can be hard to determine if minimum portion sizes are met with combination foods, since the amount of each ingredient may not be clear if you buy the product already prepared. A commercially produced combination food will need additional crediting documentation to determine serving sizes, such as a child nutrition label or product formulation statement. Homemade combination foods will need a standardized recipe, and the meat or meat alternates in the food must be credited using the food buying guide. More information on these documentation is available in the Chapter 10 training on supporting documentation for combination foods. It's time for a knowledge check. Anna is making beef patties with 80/20 ground beef. How can she figure out the yield data for the ground beef to credit her recipe? Should she look at the packaging label for the ground beef? Search for the item in the Food Buying Guide's food item search? Reach out to the manufacturer, or calculate out the ounce equivalent using the nutrition facts label. The answer is search for the item in the Food Buying Guide's food item search. As a single ingredient item, the Food Buying Guide will be your main source of crediting information, and the food item search tool will show you yield data, meaning crediting amounts for many different food items, including ground beef. Now that you know some meat and meat alternates that are creditable, here are some non-creditable meat and meat alternates. Non-creditable means that they do not contribute to the meal pattern, and serving these items as the meat alternate in a CECFP meal will result in a non-reimbursable meal if you do not have additional meat or meat alternates served with it. Most non-creditable meat and meat alternates are not creditable due to excess fat, insufficient protein, health and safety concerns, or all of the above. They include bacon, potted meats, raw meats, poultry and seafood, non-soy alternative yogurts, which include the almond and cashew yogurts, frozen yogurts, these are the dessert frozen yogurts, homemade cheese and yogurt, imitation cheese or cheese products, cream cheese, Neufchâtel cheese, nut flours, and acorns. Check out the CECFP Crediting Handbook for tables that provide guidance on whether common food items are creditable or not, or ODE's non-creditable food list for common food items that are not creditable in the CACFP. There are a few common errors when it comes to meat and meat alternates. It includes crediting by weight or volume instead of using ounce equivalents. Only nuts and seeds and some cheese will credit by weight. And most of the time that also means you are not using the food buying guide when you are crediting the meat or meat alternate item. If serving a meat or meat alternate as part of a combination food, another common error is serving the combination food without having appropriate supporting documentation on file, such as child nutrition labels or product formulation statements. These are important documents to help you serve the appropriate amount of food to meet minimum portion size requirements. And sometimes we see non-creditable meat and meat alternates served as well. Remember to check the CACFP crediting handbook and the non-creditable foods list. Let's do one more knowledge check. Which one of these is a creditable meat or meat alternate? Is it soy yogurt, bacon, cream cheese, or cheese products? It's soy yogurt. Soy yogurt is the only alternative yogurt that is creditable since it has more protein than other alternative yogurts. In review, this training covered the meat and meat alternate component requirements, portion sizes for this component, creditable and non-creditable meat and meat alternates, and common errors with meat and meat alternates. ODE supports equity and excellence for every learner. This institution is an equal opportunity provider. Thank you for taking this training.